Welcome, everyone, to ITD Gaming News, the news that's so stale it's from last week. So let's get a lineup of this week's topics so we can dive right in onto some stale topics. First of all, we're going to talk about Yuji Naka. What's up with Yuji Naka and Square Enix? There's some news floating around out there that's a little hazy, but we'll get into that. God of War delayed. We'll talk about that. The Atari VCS. Sooner rather than later, we'll get to play with that one. And then on a slow news week, we're going to talk about the over-exuberant cost of chicken nuggets and T-shirts for the final piece of this meal. All right. So first of all, we'll kind of get into Yuji Naka. There's been some news floating around. I think IGN kind of broke this earlier about some changes on his social media pages and stuff like that for Yuji Naka that there's reports that he may no longer be with Square Enix. A lot of this is probably stemming from when he joined Square Enix. He created his own little studio within Square Enix called Balan Company, or Balan, I don't remember how to pronounce it, where they were making Balan World. Basically, it didn't do so well. I never played it, never got too much into it, but everybody was ripping into it, including IGN themselves, who gave it like a 4 out of 10. And I guess it was that bad. I mean, it's a platformer game, so that's not really up my alley anyway, but Nick's a bigger platformer gamer than I am. Nick, what do you think of this news about Yuji Naka, and what do you know about the platformer game that he made, Balan World?
The Balan Wonderland, or Wonder World, or whatever it's called. I think it's Wonder World. Yeah.
Yeah, Wonder World.
I only played the demo. The demo was enough for me to go, no. I mean, I like platformers, but in this platform, it was pretty bad, even from the demo stance. They were expecting to put out like a day one patch that was supposed to handle some of the problems that people saw even in the demo. They got a lot of feedback that a lot of people didn't like the demo and certain aspects of it. Clearly that day one patch still didn't fix those aspects. So yeah, I mean, this game critically, I think across the board got pretty low scores. And I would say this was, he comes in and makes his own studio within there, kind of based off of the game's title, right? And, it was probably one of those, it could be one of those things where it was his one and only choice or chance to make something successful. And this game was not successful. I think even IGN says it didn't even hit the top 20 best-selling games when it released. So it did pretty poorly. They probably spent more money than they got in return. And I would assume Square Enix is probably not too happy about that. So, we don't know for sure all the details, but I would say, either he left or he was told to leave, possibly. But
right. Yeah, still the game didn't even, it barely made, I think the highest that it reached was in the 124th spot. So, I mean, it didn't do anywhere near where they were. If they're hoping to hit the top 20 spot, it didn't go anywhere near that.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, it's unfortunate. It would have been nice to have a cool platformer, a new platformer with a new IP, but unfortunately this one just didn't hit the mark. So try again.
Right. And I think this is all still a little bit of rumor. I mean, all this was basically based off of some social media posts and changes. But, I mean, who's going to change their social media page to say, I no longer work at Square Enix if it's not real, right?
Right. Yeah, it's past April Fools. So.
Right. Always past it. Which, and for those that don't know, basically Yuji's claim to fame is he's one of the co-creators of Sonic. So, I hopefully either he was not as good of a talent that he was, or maybe he's just out of touch, or maybe the game just is falling upon the wrong crowd. It wasn't marketed properly. Who knows with this type of stuff? I'm not a big platformer, so I didn't even check it out. It wasn't even registering. I'd never even heard of the game until I just seen this stuff about Yuji. So, Sonic was a good game. Played a lot of that as a kid. I don't know if it was mostly his partner or if it was him, but obviously, he didn't recapture the magic of Sonic with Balan Wonderworld.
Yeah, he didn't. And Sonic's had a hard time itself. Of course, that's Sega, not Square Enix. But even Sonic as a platformer has had a hard time kind of recapturing its heyday. I mean, there's been a few titles that have come out. What was the last one? Sonic Generations or whatever. That one was really good. They're supposed to come out with a new Sonic Colors, which I never played Sonic Colors, but apparently that one was a really good Sonic game, but it was only on like the Wii, I think, or something like that. And now they're remastering it and bringing it out to all consoles. So, yeah, that might be a good Sonic game, and then we'll see what they come up with next. A future Sonic game. I'd like to see a new Sonic Adventure or something that kind of goes back to the Dreamcast one. That one, the first Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2 were really good games, especially the first one back on Dreamcast. So, but yeah,
right.
It's unfortunate, but oh well. Didn't hit it out of the park with this one. Maybe next time.
Yeah, I think Nato. I'm pretty sure I'm butchering his name. Oshima is all I ever call him by his last name. He worked on that Balan Wonderworld with you, so both of them worked on it together. So, so not so good news there. But he's a game developer. He'll bounce back and either go on to create his own studio or go work for somebody else. You never know what's going to happen with these guys. Cool. Well, let's kind of move on to some sad news about the delay of the new God of War to 2022. They were hoping and they were kind of leaning on that it'd be out sometime this year, but we've basically been told now that it's being pushed to 2022 and that it's going to be coming out for PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4. So it won't be a PlayStation 5 exclusive. So it sounds like Sony's kind of reversing course a little bit there with saying all the new games are going to be like PS5 exclusive stuff. Because I think they even mentioned in the same little release in window that, Horizon Forbidden West is also going to be on PS4. So not a PS5 only game. So they're probably, hopefully they're feeling the pain of their fans and stuff like that and saying, okay, not everybody can get a PS5. So let's make sure this stuff is playable on both consoles. And that's leading into some of this. But I mean, the God of War only came out, a little over 2 years ago in 2018. So, I mean, that'd be super fast development time for them to go 2018, 2021, 3 years. Let's just top out a couple of AAA titles, right that close together. It sucks, but I'd much rather them release a completed game than to release something that's just going to get flack and that I'm going to not like when it comes out. And I won't go back to it when they fix it because I've already got burnt. Bad news, but I much prefer them to finish the game. Nick, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I agree. I'd rather them finish the game and bring out something that's complete and worth our time. If they need to delay it, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I'm sure some of the delay may be having to do with the PS4 support. Because like you said, Sony at the very beginning was saying like all these new releases were going to be PS5 only. And, Sony's definitely kind of reversed track with that because Horizon was going to be that way and God of War was going to be that way. And we don't know what other games that are going to be PS5, that might go back to that. Ratchet and Clank comes out soon and that one's going to be PS5 only. But, some of the ones that are further out may also get the PS4 treatment too. And that might contribute to the fact that people are still having a hard time finding them, right? They're still hard to get a hold of. And they'll be hard to get a hold of for a while. So, maybe Sony is thinking, we better throw these games on the PS4. We're going to lose a lot of money. We kind of talked about this before about, the games only coming to PS5 and how, even though, Sony is saying, we sold more than the PS4 or whatever, half of those or like probably over half of those are just sold to scalpers, right? I mean, because scalpers have taken not just the PlayStation, the Xbox and even graphic cards have really taken over and trying to resell those at high prices. So, it's really hard for a company like Microsoft or Sony or Nvidia or AMD or anything like that to boast about their sales when they don't know if those sales have been going to just people trying to resell them, right? So I think it was probably just that, them thinking, okay, we need to, probably put some of our high profile games onto the PlayStation 4 as well, and kind of that way we get that market share of gamers going out and purchasing it, and those people that still can't get a PS5 don't feel like they're left out on these new titles that are coming out from Sony. So, yeah, but ultimately, it sucks. We won't get to play this year, but hey, they'll do whatever they need to do. That extra year will help out a lot, and I'm sure God of War 2 will be a great game when it comes out.
Right, yeah, that's a super truncated timeline to be releasing a sequel to a very popular game in 3 years. I mean, unless unless before 1 finished, they were starting to work on 2. But I imagine it's the same studio, so the Santa Monica studio is the one that's doing it. But as soon as God of War 1 finished up, they didn't even work on bugs. They were like, hey, we're going to take like 75% of you guys, start on 2. Have fun. We'll see you in a couple of years. So 3 years down the road, they're talking about releasing the second one. And I'm like, wow, that was pretty quick, because they were still pumping out DLC and stuff for the first one up until I can't remember when the last one was, sometime last year or whatever that I saw the last one. I'm all for the same thing. Just push it back to when you need it. That way we all get to play a complete game and you don't get railed on. We don't need another Cyberpunk game this year.
Right. Yeah. No more of that stuff. I mean, Microsoft took that notice with Halo, right? Halo's going to be a launch title with the series and said, nah. And that was good. It definitely needed that help, and definitely needed the work. So, hopefully this around E3's coming up, maybe we'll see some God of War 2 stuff, like maybe like a little trailer or something. That'd be cool. So, just kind of get you hyped up and ready for when it comes out next year.
Right. Yep. Cool. Yep. So like I said, the Santa Monica studio basically put out a little thank you guys for the support, but we're going to have to delay some of this stuff. And, I'd much rather see that, especially because it's not that big. I mean, yeah, we were told sometime this year, but a lot of times, as long as you don't give us hard set date, I'm okay with pushing out. If you say, hey, I'm going to deliver this game on September 30th. I think that you're pretty much mostly done with the game. You're polishing up. I don't know, doing something. You're done with the game. So if you're giving me a set date, you're done with the game. These guys didn't give a set date. They just said sometime this year, and it just didn't work out for them. So that's okay. But don't tell me you're going to put out a game and then 2 weeks before it comes out and be like, I gotta push this out, guys. It's not even close, which means you shouldn't have even given a date at that point.
Yep, don't cyberpunk it.
Right? We don't need one of those. Cool. So maybe on some better news about stuff that's getting done ahead of time is we just got news that the Atari VCS is going to come out in just a few weeks, June 15th to be precise. This was kind of a stealth release because last I had heard, this was still like a year out or even longer. When we were talking about the Atari VCS a while back, it's like this little hybrid PC thing that was coming out. And it was still a ways in the works. And now we're getting this, hey, June 15th, you're going to get to the Atari VCS. So this would be a pretty good little retro console for those who are into that, I think I don't remember what they said the price was going to be, but we talked about the price when we did the podcast on it a while back.
It's $300.
$300. And it comes with the what they're calling what the library name. I forget the library name that they're saying that it comes with. But I mean, it's supposed to be a PC / Atari. I think it had Linux on it when we were looking at it before. So and yeah, $300. Well, it's $400, wasn't it? I thought it was $399 or something like that.
Yes, it is $399. Sorry, so it's $400.
So $400, right? So and that gives you that comes with the joystick and a controller and the console / PC. So I mean, it's a little pricey, I will say, but it comes with 100 of the Atari classics.
Yeah, if you want to get the one that comes with the controllers, that's $400. But if you just get the base system, that's $300.
And it doesn't come with any of the controllers?
I don't think.
Or does it come with one?
It doesn't say.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, it looks a lot like the old 2600, the old wood grain 2600. They get a little throwback to that. It's I don't know if I'm pretty sure that I'm not going to be getting it at $400 because if I want it, I want the joystick and the controller. So that's a little bit outside of my price range when you charge as much as a brand new console of a PlayStation or an Xbox. But for me, I'm out. But if it ever gets down to the $200 range, I'm probably looking at it pretty hardcore because I like some of this stuff and I'd like to play some of the older games with my kid. What about you, Nick? Are you in or out on this one?
For right now, I'm out. It's a little hefty on the price tag. I don't think the base model comes with the controllers, but I believe the system is it does have Bluetooth and USB 3.0 support and Wi-Fi. So I would assume, especially if it's running off a Linux-based system, you could probably plug in just about any controller to it, or Bluetooth it, or Wi-Fi connect it to the model and play it. if you wanted to play with the classic Atari joystick or Atari's gamepad that they've made for it, then you can spit out the money for that one. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, there are a bunch of Atari collection boxes out there, like at those at home ones and stuff that have like 50 Atari games on them that you could go buy at Walmart for like $20, right? If you really wanted to play some old Atari games. I don't think you need a $400 or the $300 or $400 system to play Atari. But I see this being more for the, because it's supposed to be able to do HDR, 4K. I'm not sure what this puppy's running in it as far as its specs. It's running an AMD Ryzen processor capable of 4K HDR and 60 frames per second. And so you can install either Windows or Linux as an alternative operating system. So you can basically turn this into a PC. And I think that's what you'll see most people do with it, is install Windows and use it as a gaming PC, right? Especially if it's depending on its specs, right? We don't know. I don't think they say exactly all the specs inside, how much RAM and VRAM and various, how much speed the processor is running at and all that stuff, clock speeds and everything. So we don't really know that specifics, but you could use it as like an emulation PC. You could install Windows and a bunch of, especially if it outputs to 4K and everything like that, you could throw a bunch of emulators and ROMs on there and make it into an emulation box. Have it play your old Super Nintendo and Genesis games and everything like that through it. If it's going to take an analog signal, well, I mean, it's going to be, you're not putting cartridges in, so it's all ROMs anyway. And it's just going to output them to 4K or 1080 or whatever it's going to output them to on the screen.
Right. Yeah. I mean, right now we know that it's got that Ryzen R1606G, which is the AMD's embedded chipset, embedded chips. And it's supposed to be, they have I think it's the Vega graphics chip, that, which is, that's okay. I mean, it's not like, I can't believe that they're saying all that native support for it with that high of a bandwidth and stuff. I mean, but HDR is not nothing new. Is it HDR 10 or is it HDR 6?
Yeah, it just says HDR. So what does that mean? I don't know.
Right. You're not going to get a huge gaming PC for $400.
No, but you can get an emulation box. That's what you would turn it into.
Yes, that exactly. You're not going to whip this thing out and play,
you're not going to be playing Crysis.
Cyberpunk. You're not going to play Cyberpunk on it,
Right.
So, but I mean, I guess it's just that. But at the same time, I could, with the library and the controllers, because the controllers are what I would want. It's just not there for me. I mean, the library and the controllers can get me to 300 maybe, but I'd rather spend like 250, 200 on it myself, because I'm going to use it exactly what it's for, to play these games and maybe even turn it into an emulator box for other ROMs, so it's priced itself out for me anyway.
Yeah, for sure. If it gets down in price, like if it was coming out with like the all-in-one package at like, let's say the all-in-one package that comes with the two controllers, let's say that was $200, and then the Onyx box that doesn't come with anything, but just the console itself was like $100 or maybe $150, probably close to $100. But that would be like, okay, yeah, I might pick up the $100 one, or maybe I'll pick up the all-in-one and get both the controllers, or at least pick up the $100 one and maybe buy the joystick controller down the line sometime. Because I can just use like a 360 controller or an Xbox One controller for now, and play those games, and then pick up a joystick later on. So that would be more pricing. I mean, it's kind of odd that the console has so much power for Atari games, right? I mean, that's some pretty high specs for Atari games. I mean, Atari games aren't like, they're not games that are really just going to, turn your system into, you're going to have that graphics hog of a system to play an Atari game. So, I don't know what all I'm just wondering from their perspective as a developer, what was the point of putting in what they have in the system for just Atari games? Like, are they expecting to put on like more modern games on this console? Do you know if that's something that they're? Because I haven't heard anything about that. I mean, that might be possible, but I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything from their website. A lot of what they're touting is using it as a workstation PC on top of it. Because I did find the specs for it. It does come preloaded with the Atari Custom Linux OS, the Debian-based OS, and it's got the AMD Raven Ridge 2, the RG1606G, and it's the same GPU. It's the embedded GPU. It has 32 gigs of that eMMC fixed internal storage. So it's an M2, it's real thin SSD stick. And basically it says there's a subscription required for cloud storage. And it comes with 8 gigs of DDR4. And then that's pretty much it. I mean, it's got wireless, like you said, it's got wireless built into it and Bluetooth. It also has HDMI 2.0 with gigabit Ethernet and USB 3.1, excuse me, not 3.0. And then it's got, like I said, HDMI 2.0, which is all the new systems are HDMI 2.1. And then it has, it says it does 4K video with HDCP 2.2. So it's a very low end workstation is what I would say. The only thing it has going for it is the Raven Ridge APU that's got in it. So it's I wouldn't play video games. I would play ROMs on it, but I wouldn't play anything outside of that. Maybe some low end early access, low budget games that don't require a lot of horsepower to run, but I'm not going to throw anything new, modern AAA title on it. That's for sure. 8 gigs of memory, you might as well just call it done.
Right. And that's what makes me wonder, like, what's their target audience? I mean, the target audience would have to be those people that want to play Atari games, right? And remember the Atari brand back in the day and playing the Atari back when we were kids and having that ability to do it again on a box that looks very similar to the original Atari. Other than that, I mean, who's going to sit there and use it as a workstation? I mean, if you're needing a workstation, you're probably going to go out and buy a workstation, right? I mean, because they're some of them can be just as cheap or cheaper, or you could spend a little extra cash and get a much nicer workstation if you're going to use it for just working on. And it's going to come with the Windows already preloaded and everything that you need in there. I mean, if you think about it, and I don't know how easy it's going to be to preload Windows onto this machine, but for an average person, are they going to have the know-how to be able to perform something like that? Right. The only people who are going to be able to do something like that are tech people like us that know how to do stuff like that. Otherwise, if this is geared toward an old generation, right? A generation older than us, that may not know how to do things like this, and so they're going to buy it just for an Atari box, which makes me wonder, why didn't they just go with making an Atari box that just plays Atari games? Why put in all these things? Why make it into a workstation or the capabilities of being a workstation? That just baffles my mind. Like, making an Atari box, we're going to make an Atari box. We're going to make a workstation. Why make it a combined system? I just don't understand the need for that.
And I did find a developer site for them. So they are releasing base code and stuff like that for people to develop on. So
that might be
I
cool.
would expect new games to come out for it.
So are they going to they're going to release the code so people can just build them on their own and put them out there?
Well, I don't think they're going to put it out there just for that. You can sign up to be a developer. It looks like they're pushing hard on the Linux and Unity engine. So building on the Linux base.
That would be
Obviously,
cool if they just made it
Debian.
like really easy for developers to come in and put games out there, because then you could get some really cool like freeware or cheap games that people just create because they want to, kind of like Steam, kind of open it up to just developers. You're going to get a lot of shovelware, yeah, but you might get some really cool games too from time to time.
Right. Because this has an app. The Atari VCS has an app store. And so you're going to be able to, from what I read on the developers page, you're going to be able to submit your app or your game to their developer store. And you keep 80% of the royalties. So you'll be able to develop games for it. It sounds an awful lot like the Google, the Google Store or the Apple Store too. Where you submit it to us, and we'll just take a chunk of your money, or any of those game stores. But so you submit it to them, and they'll take 20% of the revenue. But it does lend that there could be new games, and obviously they're going to run it kind of like apps. I mean, just like Microsoft is currently doing. You have apps, so you can go to the Microsoft App Store and download apps for your PC. I don't foresee anybody, like you said, changing this over to a Windows-based operating system, because that's an added cost. You got to buy an operating system for this thing, and you got to have to do it yourself, because it doesn't like you can order it with the Windows OS on it. So, and it doesn't really make sense anyway if the Atari is based off the Atari OS is based off of Debian Linux. So,
right.
So that's how they're doing it, and that's where their games are going to be. So, it's outside of my price range, and I'm really having a hard time finding additional information on the Onyx-based system, the one that you were talking about, the $300 one. They just don't mention anything about it. And I mean, I guess they're saying that their controllers are going to be like $50 a pop for that's how they're justifying the cost of a $400 versus a $300 thing. So, but yeah, they're basically saying it's for games, it's for social media, it's for streaming, it's for PC mode. It's got, basically they're touting it as kind of like a Chromebook, it just does everything, but doesn't do anything really well.
It doesn't do anything good. Yeah, IGN is saying that the controllers are going to be $60 a piece.
Yep. So you're getting a $20 discount if you buy them bundled with the wood grain console.
This one is one I'd like to keep an eye on. I have a feeling it's going to go away the dodo. After a year, it's probably going to be dead, if not before the end of the year. I mean, I just don't see a lot of people jumping. I mean, people are looking for PS5s and Xbox Series X's. And if Nintendo says we're going to make a Switch Pro and it's coming out towards the end of the year, people aren't going to jump around looking for an Atari VCS. I just don't think that's going to be a hot holiday item. So I just feel like this is probably not going to take off like a lot of those other projects that we've seen, in the past, the Ouya, and, that was kind of the same type of idea. That wasn't really Atari centered, but that was more just the App Store, but on a console. I just in Stadia, Stadia is still around, but it's slowly dying, and Stadia will probably be gone at some point, I would imagine. So I just feel like the Atari VCS right now, my assumption is that the Atari VCS is not going to last, but we'll see. You never know.
All right, on to the next topic of things that are overpriced. Let's talk about T-shirts that cost more than a PlayStation 5 that have the PlayStation 5 logo. So there's a luxury fashion company out there called Balenciaga who has a line of PlayStation branded clothing that costs more than the PlayStation itself does. And I'm not talking like button-up shirts, nice dress shirts. I'm talking T-shirts. I'm talking a black T-shirt or a red T-shirt. They've got a line of Sony T-shirts, and they have a hoodie, I think. The T-shirts are like $675. So you can get a red one, you can get a black one. The red has black letters. The black has white letters. And all it has is the Balenciaga logo, PlayStation logo with PS5, the PS5 release date. And then they have like some sleeve art for the PlayStation and the controller square X circle shapes there. I don't know how you could charge that much for a T-shirt. $807. The hoodie's $875, by the way, for the hoodie. So if you really want a hoodie, it's $875. Or if you want the T-shirt, it's $675. That's over $100 more than the PlayStation costs for a T-shirt. So get your exclusive rare T-shirt. Yeah, that's probably not going to be very rare because I don't know who's going to spend $675 on a T-shirt, because I sure as heck not. I can get me quite a few T-shirts for that price. More than upwards of a few, at $20 a pop is what I spend on a T-shirt. I'm going to get a lot. Nick, you want one of these T-shirts or a hoodie, man?
Sure, if it's free, I'll take one. Yeah, I don't get it. I mean, like, I seen the picture of the shirts in the hoodie. I mean, there's nothing special on them, right? Like exactly what you said. It just says the name brand at the top, and then it has the PlayStation 5 logo with the shapes, and that's it. The hoodie has it on the sleeves as well. The t-shirt just has it on the front. Hoodie has it on the front and the sleeves. They're both black and white lettering. And it looks nice. It doesn't look $675 nice. I mean, I guess if you got money that's burning a hole in your pocket and you just want to buy an expensive t-shirt for fun, I mean, I don't have that kind of cash, but if somebody out there does, there you go. I just don't understand. I mean, you could make your own. You could make it one. Go get a black t-shirt, a stencil, and print onto the t-shirt. You could imprint the same thing on there, and it would probably look just as good for a while until
you could probably go to the Sony's. You could probably go to the Sony store and buy a t-shirt very similar, maybe without the Balenciaga brand and logo for $20, maybe $30 if they're being a little bit facetious with the price. But I don't know. I'm not one of these people who frivolously throw their money away on clothes like that though either, because a t-shirt's a t-shirt. It's going to be worn to do the stuff that I'm not going to wear nice clothes to do. So $675 might get a hole in it or something. For $675, I'm going to have to put a frame around it and put it in a safe deposit box somewhere.
Right. And wearing that t-shirt to a restaurant with $50 plates ain't going to get you through the door. So you're going to have to come back.
It'll get you about as far as a tuxedo t-shirt will.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're exactly right. If you go to the PlayStation store, I bet you can find that same t-shirt or something similar that, they're going to pay, you're going to pay like $20 for. Xbox has their Fan Fest going around right now, and they're selling t-shirts for Fan Fest, and they're $20 a pop, and they look really nice. So, and they have other stuff for sale too, but I mean, so yeah, I mean, if you're a fan of Sony or if you're a fan of any console manufacturer, just go to their official stores and buy a t-shirt from there. They have them. They're usually cheap. Most of them are either free shipping or super cheap shipping. So yeah, do that. Do that instead.
Well, right. Well, if that t-shirt wasn't too rich for your blood, how about a $99,997 chicken McNugget? An Among Us shaped chicken McNugget recently sold on eBay for $99,997, just shy of $100,000, because it was shaped like an Among Us character. I don't get it, but according to Paulinzia, who is the seller on eBay, that basically you're going to get the chicken nugget freeze dried and air sealed, along with a packet of their infamous Szechuan sauce delivered right to your house for that price. I don't know what to think of this. It's the shape of an Among Us, and he said he got it as part of a BTS meal. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to think of this. I mean, in a time of COVID where people are supposedly not having enough money, spending $100,000 on a chicken McNugget that's shaped like an Among Us character seems a little overzealous. I guess if people want more, I could go cut some out, and I'll get some of those cookie cutter shapes. Remember how they used to make the dinosaur shaped ones? We'll just cut out a whole bunch of them. Nick, how about you? You hungry for that chicken nugget?
The people that pay that much for that chicken nugget are the same people that are going to buy that PlayStation t-shirt. I mean, the person that bought that nugget just has money to burn. And it's pretty sad. It's pretty sad when you have that much money and you don't know what to do with it. So you decide you're going to buy a chicken nugget that looks like an Among Us character. I mean, why? Why would you want that? What are you going to do with it? I mean, it's either if you have it sitting out, it's just going to dry up and look shriveled and decrepit. You could put it in some sort of like resin, or some sort of, you could freeze it, I guess. I don't understand.
Right. I mean, and to put it into perspective, this was an eBay auction that started at 99 cents and made it all the way up to that. So there was more than just this one person. According to everything I could find, the person who bought it is unknown at this time. Nobody knows who really bought it. And if they're a BTS fan, which how do you have proof that is he going to send the receipt with you to show that there was a BTS meal that this came with? Or if they were just a fan of Szechuan sauce, or they just really love McDonald's chicken nuggets, or Among Us, who knows? But somebody now for $100,000 owns an Among Us shaped chicken McNugget in a freeze dried in a Ziploc baggie.
Did he really pay? Did the person actually pay for it, or has the transaction gone through? Because
I don't know. It was supposedly, this was the last I'd heard that it was closed. The auction was closed. So I imagine, unless it was like 2 or 3 people bidding at the top for this thing, if he doesn't get it, I wonder if the next person down is going to pay $99,995 for it. You know, it's going to keep going down until, I don't know. I would almost feel like this is almost a joke. The person who originally bought it's going to be like, sorry, I don't got $100,000 for a chicken nugget. And so it's the second, third, fourth, till it gets down to like $5. And so I'm like, yeah, I'll give you $5.
Yeah, because you could have, on eBay, you could have a bunch of people just boosting the price up just for fun because it's a chicken nugget on eBay, right?
Yeah, right.
So that one last person puts in a funny, like, oh, I'm going to boost it up to here. And then they're like, oh, crap, I'm the winner. They're like, oh, man. So, yeah.
I'm going to screw this whale over with this chicken nugget. Yep. So I don't get it. Way too rich for my blood, the t-shirt included. I'm out on both of those. And I'm out on the Atari, unfortunately. I wouldn't mind having the Atari, but I'm out on that. Yeah. Well, I mean, unless you got anything additional you want to add for the news there, Nick?
No, I think we got it all. I'm going to go buy some
all right,
chicken nuggets.
This episode's been way too rich for my blood. I'm out. Hopefully they don't actually take a bite of that chicken nugget that they spent $100,000 for.
Right.
All right, everybody. Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode of ITD Gaming News, the news that's always late. So if you like this episode, make sure you like and subscribe, and then click that bell for notifications so you can catch our episodes we come out with every week. And hope to catch you in the next episode.